Hey kiddies, it's Terrible Triple Feature time once again, and this week we're going to look at Tom Cruise's character studies. Trust me, this one is actually a thing. Before he started making all the Mega Million blockbuster movies over and over and over again, Tom Cruise did this spate of movies that aren't traditional or aren't particularly modern. They harken back to older black and white films in which there's no real external conflict in it. The whole thrust of the movie is the main character has to overcome some sort of character flaw or insecurity to become the great man that he is destined to be. And what makes it doubly funny for me is that mid to late 80s Tom Cruise does not appear to have a lot going on upstairs. So the fact that he's in 3 of these things, 4 according to Siskel and Ebert, but we'll get to that later, is really a lot of fun for me. It appears that all the movies seem to realize this about 2/3 of the way through and then shoehorned an external conflict in there, and it doesn't work at all. It's really great. Our menu is going to include Top Gun, Cocktail, and Days of Thunder. Unless you're a communist, you've seen Top Gun, Pete, Maverick, something or other. What the hell is Maverick's last name? It doesn't matter. Tom Cruise and Anthony Edwards are hotshot F-14 pilots that get nominated to go through the Top Gun training seminar, flying workshop, campfire retreat thing, sausage party. The best of the best are there to see who is the best of the best of the best. And, putting it mildly, it's Val Kilmer's Iceman is actually the best because he's got all of the skill of Maverick, but with none of the messy psychological problems, which, when you're putting in the pilot seat of a multi-million-dollar airplane with cruise missiles attached to him, I'm going to want the detached sociopath as opposed to the over-emotional yet, brilliantly talented crazy person. It's, again, what you got to notice is that there's no actual external conflict. There's barely an interpersonal conflict between Iceman and Maverick, as evidenced by them being buddies at the end of this film. That's going to be a recurring theme throughout all of these. It was actually really funny. In researching this one, I came across a Siskel and Ebert review where they actually go through the formula for all of these movies. I was so happy that other people noticed this because I thought I was the only one that was picking up on it with Cocktail. There's always the pseudo enemy that becomes best buddies with Tom Cruise by the end of the film until like 20 minutes to the end of the movie when they sort of realize, shit, we've got to put something in here or else moviegoers are going to say this was a pointless movie. Which, with Top Gun, I don't think you could ever say it's pointless because the dogfighting sequences are really, really gorgeous. I mean, this was an achievement in filmmaking, not necessarily in storytelling. I don't think they ever actually identify the nationality of the enemy fighters that they are dogfighting with at the end, but they're the bad guys. And they get introduced almost literally 20 minutes before the end of the movie. Because the actual conflict is Pete Maverick trying to overcome his own insecurities and father issues and abandonment issues and loneliness issues and probably latent homosexuality issues to become the Top Gun. And, spoiler alert, of course he does. It's Tom Cruise. When does Tom Cruise lose in a movie? I mean, even in Magnolia, he hasn't actually lost, which is, God, that's just kind of sad when the order of the films, we're going in most intelligent to least intelligent, which puts Top Gun. There's actually, Tom Skerritt and Michael Ironside are in it. So there, at least, there had to have been something in the script that seemed mildly interesting or thought-provoking, and their performances actually lend it a little gravity to the movie on top of the fact that, they're fighter pilots. The movie's only just, a smidge Navy propaganda, pro-America, Team America, yeah. But really, it's not about that. It's about Tom Cruise becoming the best Tom Cruise that Tom Cruise can be. As is Cocktail. Oh, man, Cocktail. Take the uh, the intrapersonal conflict within Tom Cruise and apply it to bartending because it's basically the same exact plot, or not the same exact. Days of Thunder will be the same exact plot. We'll get to that. It's all about becoming the best bartender that you can be, and opening up your own bar because that's the dream of young Brian Flanagan. And again, no no actual external conflict at all. He's, mildly pissed at his buddy, Brian Brown, but there's no actual real thing for Tom Cruise to overcome in the film except his own, mental issues, which he eventually does for the love of Elizabeth Shue, which, I mean, who among us wouldn't? Because she's wonderful. And at the end, we get the overbearing father-in-law, father of Elizabeth Shue, who's rich and doesn't want his daughter wasting her life on this asshole. And again, all throughout it, there's like flashy stuff to watch with the bottle juggling, which, I mean, nobody would actually want you to do in a bar because I really just want my drink and I want to go back to talking to whoever I want to. Unless you're at the One World in which all the bartenders are fun, but again, why are you spinning the alcohol around instead of just pouring it? I don't get it. Yeah, again, nothing really for the characters to do other than whine at each other about each other, which, could get sort of old, except Brian Brown is one of the other characters, so it really works. I talk more about Cocktail, but there really isn't much else to talk about it's kind of a nothing movie. And I was surprised that it was actually made after Top Gun, because I thought Top Gun was like the big moment for Tom Cruise, and then everything happened afterwards. But no, actually Top Gun was made first, and then Cocktail, and then Days of Thunder, which is in fact the exact same plot of Top Gun, but with NASCAR racing. This time, Cole Trickle, Tom Cruise, with yet another silly name, wants to become a NASCAR racer after being a Formula One racer before. Doesn't matter. And so he has to overcome his own natural talent and insecurity behind the wheel of a multi-million-dollar vehicle to become the best racer ever. And he's got his, initial rival of Rowdy Burns, I think, played by Michael Rooker. But of course, over the course of the movie, they become buddies, and then we have to shoehorn in yet another actual bad guy. This time played by Carrie Elways. That's really funny because Carrie Elways is playing the hotshot, pun intended, new race car driver that's there to challenge Tom Cruise. Carrie Elways would later go on to play the Val Kilmer analog in the parody movie Hot Shots to Charlie Sheen's Tom Cruise character. So it kind of links the two movies together. Top Gun and Hot Shots is even more directly linked or transferred over through Days of Thunder, which really dumb. No idea what racing stuff they're trying to accomplish, or I mean, whereas Top Gun had like the brilliant visuals of the dogfighting sequences with the really fast super jets, it's just NASCAR, which is still just racing around in a circle for like 800 miles. I just don't get it. It's sort of hilarious when you see how much intensity is put on it. And don't get me wrong, if that's the sport you're into, that's the sport you're into. But the movie about it is kind of silly, even though making this character study a sports movie is actually one of the best moves they ever made. Just not this. Because traditionally this is a sports movie type of thing. I mean, you look at like Major League or more importantly Rocky. Rocky, the struggle is more Rocky Balboa believing it himself and being able to do it than actually fighting Apollo Creed, which harkens back to the old black and white movies, which don't have a real conflict. In those movies, they for the modern Tom Cruise movies, they shoehorn it in at the very end, and it's silly, and they're kind of dull in a way, but they have an 80s Tom Cruise charm to it, which 80s Tom Cruise did have. So we watch them anyway, and I'm just rambling at this point because there's no there for any of these movies. But you should check out. I'll probably post a link to this Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel article where they go break down every little element of the stories, and it's fun because they're all in there. They also list Color of Money, which I didn't put on this mainly because I have never seen it, and mostly because Paul Newman's in it, and I'm sorry, but 80s Tom Cruise, if Paul Newman's in your movie, you are not the main focus of the movie, so go with that. But Color of Money, The Hustler, is one of these great character studies with Paul Newman as Fast Eddie Felson. Oh, Paul Newman, man. Anyway, Tom Cruise, character studies, Top Gun, Cocktail, Days of Thunder. I'd say drink, but you know you're going to be losing brain cells by the minute with these movies, so you may want to leave off it, or you know just go whole hog for it and get sloshed. Either way, I'll see you guys next week.